one of the things I really want to talk to you about are your initial struggles with working with the Road Warriors when they came to Memphis.
Was my original then?
That was the first time you wrestled the Road Warriors was in Memphis, wasn't it?
Yeah, it wasn't a struggle. It was a change. And the reason it was a change is because they were young and inexperienced. And I mean, they had this concept in their mind of what they were, and it didn't matter what anybody else was. They were going to get their gimmick over and do it, which was understandable. But they came to a territory where Stan and I were the guys. I mean, we were the people, we were the tag team that was on the top of the ladder at the time. And, it was a combination of us and them meeting first time. And, working with them, it took me a second to figure them out. But they weren't excuse me, they weren't the first big guys that I'd worked with that didn't really sell that well. I was used to that. I mean, and so I had tricks, and it was an experienced veteran working with guys less experienced and knowing how to handle it. And like when I took Hawk's arm the first time and twisted it, he just looked down his arm at me and stuck his tongue out. And I'm going, well, I guess that's not working. So I figured it out and take them down, take their leg. And once you get them on the ground, it's hard to get up, and you just keep them down there, and then you'll get your baby face, whatever, over. And then when it's time for the heat, just sell for them and make a comeback and move them around. But I didn't have any problem with them that night. The very first time, we got along okay. We did have to make some adjustments, Stan and I, from what we had been doing, more entertainment style wrestling in Tennessee, to get a little bit more serious with them, more grappling and a little bit more, slug fist kind of stuff, but just going toe to toe with them and things. And, it's just like, it took some adapt. It wasn't until later on in the AWA I had my first kind of like, difference with them that kind of caught me off guard, but I turned it around and it ended up being better than what was planned. And then in Puerto Rico, it happened again, and kind of had to really dig deep to outsmart them this time, but it worked out all right. And so they got over it. It was always Hawk. It wasn't Joe. Joe was easy to get along with, but Hawk was kind of a hothead, and he had this misconception of what he was doing sometimes. And even when we didn't seem like we were getting along, we still respected each other. And after he'd cool off, like sometimes it took a couple months for him to cool off, but after he'd cool off, he'd start laughing about it. And he put me over. He said, well, you're smarter than most guys I work with. He said, usually just manhandle them and they just get over it. But you have a way of working me. You're nice to me in the dressing room. And then when you get me out there, you'll take me to school. And I go, it's not purposely. It's that I know you're not being a businessman. And here's the deal. This is not real. This is predetermined. We're doing the best we can to emulate a fight, but neither one of us is really trying to hurt each other. But I need to look good too. And I'm not going to let you just dominate me. And so he respected me for that, but he always threatened me.
Did you ever get a win over the Road Warriors?
Yeah, several times in the AWA. And the reason is we were building things. Well, we were supposed to get a win the first night, but they came to the ring and said they weren't doing it. And so, I'm going like, what? Anyway, that was a mistake. I'm saying what when he's going, we're not doing what Vern Gagne wants. We're doing it our way and nobody gets hurt. And I'm looking at what? And I didn't mean what like a smart aleck. I meant like what? I'd never heard this before. And the next thing I know, I was fighting for my life. But, it worked out all right. I outsmarted them. And the finish was supposed to be Stan and I would do a notorious switch of talent on a double knockdown. Somebody go down, other guy go down. Heel comes in to feed. referee's putting the heel out, I'd slide Stan out, or he'd slide me out, roll in like he was me or I was him. And when the guy come to pick us up, we just inside cradle 1, 2, 3 real quick and roll out like a steal it. But, didn't want to do that. And so that would have gotten us over pretty good. But the way we did it and the way it ended up, I mean, I just got to a point where I was frustrated because he was just wanted heat on me. And I spent enough time over his head that day to get a pilot's license and press slam. And I said, it's like, okay, I tagged Stan and he let Stan have a little bit of a comeback and then tried to ground him. And then I just said, you know what? We need to get this over with. And I rolled out, grabbed a chair, and I came in shooting with a chair. And I mean, I wasn't going to let nobody take the chair away. And I was really hitting him. And Paul Ellering's going, get out. And he's going, nah, he wanted to kill me. But I was pretty stiff with the chair. And I was pretty stout at the time, too. So I was letting him hold him. and the crowd popped unreal. It was almost like it was better than any other way it could have happened, because it looked like we'd just gotten beat to the point where we weren't going to take it anymore. And we stood up and just went fighting them as best we could and ended up running them off. And so I said, that worked out good, but I don't ever want to get back in the ring with them.
I don't blame you.